Hi Dixons, I'm James Dyke, Trust Leader for Instruction and for English. We're here today at the brilliant Dixons Unity in Leeds. In this final episode of this mini-series focusing on subject coaching, we will be exploring how giving teachers a meaningful action step, followed by modelling and deliberate practice, supports teacher development. In our previous two videos, we have explored how to prepare for subject coaching and develop subject expertise through the no-show chart and the exemplar. Expert modelling, showing, not just telling, and opportunities for rehearsal and practice are all crucial mechanisms in developing teacher expertise. During a subject coaching session, the aim is to combine deep subject debate and excavation with that of pedagogical rehearsal. At Dixons, we talk about nothing in isolation. We must marry up knowledge of our subject domain with that of our instructional toolkit, as well as knowledge of effective school routines, so that we can be effective, dynamic and adaptive. In this coaching session, once we have explored what students need to know, identified the productive struggle and anticipated any gaps, the coach will go on to identify a specific action step with the coachee. This is a specific action that the teacher should rehearse in order to navigate the productive struggle of the lesson. It may have been identified through drop-ins to lessons or in previous coaching. The action step needs to involve a clear what and how. For example, a what could be, when students are stuck, use a cold call to ensure they do the thinking. How? Post examples of student work under the visualiser, ask students to articulate or write to demonstrate their understanding of it.
In your classroom, at that moment of teaching, when students are completing, say, an answer that's only partial, what should we do to unpick it? So our action step is going to be based around a show call. So we're going to use show call and a little bit of turn and talk and a little bit of mini whiteboards as well alongside that, to try and unpick a problem and push students on. So the focus is on show call and it's going to be on partial response.
It is crucial that we view strategies that we might draw upon as adaptive and flexible. The coaching is not purely focused around show call here. It is an example of how a range of strategies, show call, turn and talk, mini whiteboards, can be deployed in order to navigate difficult subject content or struggle. Next, the coach should model what this looks like. In practice, to the coachee. This is where meta moments come into play. Meta moments are the deliberate pausing of modelling in order to question the coachee on why the coach may be doing what they are doing. Equally, it could be to elaborate on decision making on the part of the expert coach. Let's see that in action.
I'm circulating as students are annotating their text. So like we said, the first time they might encounter some of these struggles is during annotation. So I'm circulating during annotation and I notice that there's a few students who are kind of in the partial area. So their annotations they might have selected a quotation, they might have said something about it, but there's no analysis, there's no real reference to methods, and maybe there's just not enough sort of comment on why it shows a viewpoint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use show call to unpick that. So you can pretend to be my class, but I am going to pause and just ask you to sort of comment on what I'm doing as well. Okay, so I'll get into teacher mode. If you've got a whiteboard, that'd be really great. So you can use your whiteboard, and then just try and sort of focus on what it is I'm doing, and then like I said, I'll pause. Okay, year 10. What I'd like you to do now is just pause there. I've got Tyreek's work here that I'm just going to show call. So Tyreek's made a really good effort at annotating his text so far. I'm just going to show call this under the visualizer. Now, as you can see, Tyreek's picked out a quotation from the text, and it's about the students in source A and the writer in source A talk about the students as being like a hive of activity. So Tyreek's picked that quotation out, which I think is a good selection, and he said, well, this shows that the students might be busy. Okay. Now, in order to answer our question, I think we're lacking a little bit in terms of what we need in order to develop that answer. So first thing I'd like you to do is just turn and talk to your partner in a moment. When I say go, what are we maybe missing from that annotation or from that answer which could make it even better? Turn and talk, 20 seconds, if you go. 3, 2, 1, tracking me. Okay, cool, come in. What could we do with this answer? What's it maybe lacking? Track Iona.
I think the thing that we're missing is some analysis of the key language in the text and reference to methods.
Okay, so we could have methods referenced here. So we've got students are being described as being like a hive of activity. So just turn and talk again for me, just for 10 seconds. What method is that? And what does that show us really about the children? So let's try and unpick that a little bit more, because I already said we need a method and we maybe need to say a bit more about what the language shows us. So we're just going to turn and talk one more time, 20 seconds. What does that show us and what method is it? Turn and talk. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Track me again. Okay, cool, come in. Ariana?
The method is a metaphor, and it shows that the school is really busy and that there's lots going on.
Fab, so we've got a metaphor. What I'd like you to do now, without just watching me on the visualizer, we've made a note that it's a metaphor. I would like everybody on their whiteboards just to jot down independently, what are your thoughts on that quotation? Build on what Ariana said. What is that quotation about? What's that doing, that quotation? What's the language showing us? So I'm going to give you 1 minute, write as much as you can about that quotation on your whiteboards. I'm just going to pause there. So far, what have I done to try and unpick that undeveloped piece of work, if you like? What have I done so far?
Well, you've signposted, through discussion, through turn and talk, that what the method is.
Yeah.
You've then gone to Ariana to clarify to the class what that quotation shows.
Yeah.
And then they're doing a little bit of independent work on mini whiteboards to build up their thought process behind their annotations.
Yeah, so the thinking is building through that mini whiteboard work. What did I use just before that to try and figure out, or try and see whether the students knew what the problem was? What did I use?
A show call.
Yeah, and just after that?
A cold call.
And just around there, I also got them to...
Turn and talk.
Turn and talk, yeah. So the turn and talk there just allows students to maybe clarify, because there'll be some students in the room who didn't think that was a problem of an answer.
Yeah.
Some who are probably up here who know that there's problems in the answer. And then the reason why I called a certain student was because I knew that they had actually done more of this. I knew they developed their response, and I knew that they knew that was needed. So they'd probably worked out that was a problem. So I've used turn and talk there, I've used show call, and I've used a little bit of mini whiteboard work. So I'm just going to finish that off now. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go back into roll. Okay, guys, 5 more seconds on your mini whiteboard, and then I want you to show me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Show me. Okay, I'm just going to take Ariana's whiteboard now and show call this one. So just track this response. So Ariana's written that obviously the metaphor of the students are like they're in a hive or busy in a hive is a metaphor, but Ariana's talked about how it gives us this sense of busyness, but also perhaps joy and community. And what's really important is that Ariana's response does discuss the viewpoint a little bit more there. So what I want you to do, just looking at Ariana's response and then looking at the original response, turn and talk, what's the difference between the two responses? And why is this one perhaps a little bit stronger and more developed? Why is this one more like excellence? Turn and talk, 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Cold call. And then what I would do, I'm going to pause there, but what I would then do is maybe cold call the student who had also written a developed enough response and was quite happy with the difference between the two.
Yeah.
But what I'd also probably do is cold call a student who perhaps originally was around here. And I would check that they understood that Ariana's response had more language analysis and it linked back to the writer's intentions or the writer's viewpoint more clearly. So I might just check those students who are around here understood the difference.
What is crucial in this example is the coach questions and engages the coachee with their model. Examples of this could involve, what did you see me say and do in the model? What was the impact of X or Y in the model? Why do you think I made the decision to do A or B, etc. Here we are developing teacher expertise by A, narrating aloud what decisions an expert teacher might make and why, promoting adaptivity, and B, building knowledge in a coachee around how to navigate the productive struggle in their subject. The final step would be to ask the coachee to practice themselves, whilst giving live feedback as a coach on their example. This element of rehearsal is effective in enabling teachers to practice their instruction before going into the lesson itself in front of students, meaning it won't be the first time they've tried this, and therefore mitigating against unclear instruction or the embedding of misconceptions and errors in student work. I hope you've enjoyed and found useful this mini-series on subject coaching. Many thanks for watching.